They only honor Queen, nobody else, you know. So then, yeah, you try to reorganize. So then I went back to Otrobanda, the whole group, of course, people following you all the time. Beaver Brown, you know. Then I went to the bishop, and I told the bishop, look, the organized revolution has become an anarchy. I am the only leader outside there yet, and I cannot stop them. But if you come with me as a bishop, the both of us together might be able to reorganize. He told me, no, I don't speak enough Papiamento, I can't do it. At that moment, the boys that were with me say, then we burn down this palace too. And that's the way the palace of the bishop was burned down, because he refused to participate in the revolution, while at that moment there was a general thinking that the bishop was sustaining the labor movement, you know. We had the idea that the three groups that organized 30th of May was, in the first place, the left wing of the Catholic Church, which consisted of Pater Römer and Streef Kerk and a little bit the bishop, who did so, you know, to let certain laws pass, certain preachers, because a lot of things was forbidding in those days, no, by the Catholic Church, like using contraceptives, you know, was not allowed. And then you would find a Streef Kerk that say, I am part of the organization of Familia Plena. I only propose, and yes, the pill, you know. That was a lot of it. But he was still part, and he helped organize, you know. And the second group that was seen as an organizer of the movement was the radical labor unions, the one from the harbor, the one from the mining company. And the third group that played an important role, because we had a seminary, a weekly, and that was the Veto movement. Yeah. That was those, let us say, for a great part, the intellectuals that had come from Holland. We went to Holland, and then we came back and saw the big differences in the Dutch capitalistic system and the existing one in Curacao. And we felt the racism more here than we felt it in Holland. So that influenced the group to organize itself in what became the Veto movement. No? Yeah. We published a paper, we held demonstrations on the Gomez Plain and all those kind of things. No?
But did things really change after May 30th? And how do you see that? Did that influence what we have today?
I think that I tried to explain you the situation before 30th of May. When people ask that question, which they often do, is because they do not realize how the situation was before the 30th of May. Yeah. It was really a hire and fire. If you came to your job, to start with, you was paid 100 guilders a month, and you have to pull down your panty to get a job. There was also sexual abuse. You cannot imagine that today, that a merchant would say, you know, you have to sleep with me before I give you a job. You know, you cannot imagine today that, let us say, Hotel Americano was a big hotel there on the Brion Plain, was not allowed to refuse black people entering by law, but they did not attend you. So if my mother and my father went and sit down with their children to have a drink and look outside after you go shopping in town, my father could not get a drink. They would just skip him over. You know, you ordered, let us say, 4 or 5 Coca-Colas, they brought 4. And there were several places that did that. You could not get a job in any merchant here in Curacao as a woman if you did not straight your hair. If you were black, you could not get a job anyway. But if you was light colored, and especially had a light colored eye, that helped a lot of blue eye, and you had to have bon cabello, as we say here in Curacao, have good hair, the one resembling that of the European. So you had to. They used to comb their hair with a hot iron in those days. You could not become member of the Lions, the Rotary, all those kind of clubs. Club Amistad, Golf Club. Black people could not become member of these kind of clubs. And all this changed after 30th of May. To start with, we got social laws. Before you had a hire and fire capitalism, but then we got a law that protected your job. For you to get a discharge, it had to go to a commission. We got, minimum wages, a law of minimum wages. We did not have. 4 months after 30th of May, the wages that were 100 guilders a month all became 400 and were protected by law. And we have that up to now. We have now a minimum wage of 1,750. I cannot pay my servant girl 1,000 guilders a month. Then she can take me to a judge, and I would get a fine and be obliged to pay her all the money that I didn't pay. So these things, before 30th of May, we had roughly about 20,000 people living in poverty, of which only roughly about 600 got financial aid. And those 600 were mostly friends of the politician or girlfriends of the politician often, or family of the politician, but the mass did not get. After 30th of May, the same 20,000, but roughly about 8,000 got financial aid, what we call understand here, which were mostly girls that were pregnant or had small babies. It was a good development. We had 500 people, we had 500 social houses just for people without income. The government had built, and some private enterprises had built, and we forgot, there's a house for low-income people. But 500 for the big amount of people without house, was nothing. After 30th of May, thousands of houses were built. We got an organization to build a part outside of the government to build social houses, and we are still doing it. We got a redistribution of the collective income, as I explained. The minimum wages increased. Before that time, we were getting Dutch aid separated in 3 parts. One part against hard interest, second part against soft interest, and the third part as a gift. But all that money was only invested in economical projects. Our HAF was one of the most beautiful in the world. Our airport, one of the most beautiful in the world. Infrastructure with asphalt roads leading to nowhere. Structures for hotels, that kind of things. But none were invested in social projects as housing, as free medical aid that we have now, free dental aid. People do not realize that Curacao, apart from countries in Europe, if you compare it with countries in the rest of the world, the South America, the islands in the Caribbean area, Curacao is really a paradise. We have an old age pension of 820 guilders a month. Which other country has that?
Yeah.
And it is not enough for the high cost of Curacao. You need at least 300 guilders more to live at a normal life. What you eat, and the person with the 820 guilders a month lives in a house from the government paying 30, 40 guilders rent with a toilet, with water, with current, with everything on it. That same person has free medical aid, has free dental aid. When you tell people that, when you travel, they can hardly believe you. They want to come to Curacao. And all these things were achieved thanks to 30th of May. After 30th of May, the how you call it, the incomes increased with 14%. Now, when you had them talking about increasing the minimum wages, they're talking about 25 cents and 10 cents and those kind of things. That is what scares me a little bit too, no? The new development where the Cámara de Comercio, the
Chamber of Commerce.
What?
The Chamber of Commerce.
The Chamber of Commerce, thank you, is proposing that for certain low wages, lower than 2,300 guilders a month, they can introduce, and again, the hire and fire policy, that you don't fall under the law of retirement. They also now, we have, thanks to 30th of May, a 40-week labor. No? You work 40 hours a week. And after 40 hours, you have to pay overtime. Now they want to bring it to 45 hours, and then you pay overtime. And it's a dangerous road. I don't know where it's going to end. And I think it is very dangerous to change things that the masses have realized that they achieved thanks to burning down the town. So when you start touching that, you might increase in their head the idea we have to burn again. Which,
Do you think that will happen? Do you think people will burn Willemstad again?
for you to burn, you need an organization that wants